Hi viewers, this is Rajender. Welcome to Rajenderreddy Chemistry Point. In last video, we discussed about classification of matter based on the states and purity. In this video, we are going to study in detail about classification of matter based on states. Let us start discussion. Solids. Solids are rigid in comparison to the liquids and gases. Yes, we know very well that solids are rigid in nature. Rigid means tough enough and strong. And here coming to the liquids, liquids are not rigid. They are not rigid means they are not strong. We know very well that. The next gases. Gases are also not rigid in nature. They are also not strong enough. This is the first property. So compared to solids, liquids and gases, solids are rigid in nature. Liquids are not rigid. Gases also not rigid. Coming to the second property, shape and as well as volume. Here, solids have definite shape and definite volume. Let us consider mobile phone. Mobile phone, it has definite shape. We know very well that. And it could occupy a particular space. So has definite volume also. So solids have definite shape and definite volume also. But coming to the liquids, liquids have a definite volume, but there is no definite shape. How can we say, for example, water? If you take water in a glass, the shape of the water is shape of the glass. If you transfer the water from the glass to the another container, so then the shape is transferred from glass shape to the another container shape. So here we can say liquids have definite volume, but there is no definite shape. Then third one, gases. Gases neither have definite shape nor definite volume. It does not occupy a particular space, so that it does not have particular volume and it does not have shape also. Solid particles have low kinetic energy. So the energy of the solid particles are lesser. So the energy is lesser so that they simply sit together like that only. Here liquid molecules have intermediate kinetic energy. Means the energy of the particles are higher than compared to solids in case of liquids. And gases possess very high kinetic energy. They have very high kinetic energy. We know very well that kinetic energy is nothing but the energy possessed by the moving particles are known as kinetic energy. So in solids the particle does not move, so it has very low kinetic energy. In liquids the particles can move. It has intermediate kinetic energy between solids and gases, and the particles of the gases have high kinetic energy because they moves very fastly. Yes, coming to the next, solids cannot be compressed appreciably. So solids never be compressed because the particles are very closer with each other. So there is no interparticle space. The interparticle space is very lesser in case of solids, so cannot be compressible. But in case of liquids, they are compressible. They are compressible. How can we say? Compared to solids, liquids particles are somewhat present in with a distance. So there is interparticle distance is there in case of liquids. So liquid can be compressed, but not that much of gases, but little bit. And here compared to the liquids, gases have high compressibility property because they can compressible easily. They have high interparticle spaces. You can observe in the diagram. This is the solid diagram. This is liquids and this is gases. This is about the arrangement of the particles. In case of solids, the particles are very closer with each other. You can see that all the particles are present with a closer, so that there is no interparticle space. But here in case of liquids, the particle not that much of closer than compared to the this one solids, so that there is a interparticle space in case of the liquids. But coming to the gases, very high interparticle space is there. The particles are with the higher distances. So here we can simply say that in case of solids, the interparticle force of attraction is higher, interparticle space is lesser. But in case of liquids, interparticle force of attraction is lesser than solid, interparticle space is higher than solids. And coming to the gases, gases have very less interparticle force of attraction, very high interparticle spaces. Then the next property, here coming to the solids, their molecules are held rightly by strong nuclear forces. So in case of the particles of the solids, they are tightly attracted with each other and there is strong nuclear forces between the particles. But in case of the liquids, the molecules are held tightly at intermediate level. So the attraction between the particles are intermediate compared to the solids and as well as gases. And here in case of gases, very weak attraction forces are present among the molecules of gases. There is no that much of strong attraction between the particles. And the next, coming to the next point, solids are present in a very high dense form. Solids are having high density. How can we say high density? Here in case of solids, they occupy the lesser space. Why they occupy lesser space? Whatever the particles are present, they are tightly bind with each other, so that force of attraction between the particles are higher. So there, the shape occupied by the solids are lesser. So the space occupied by the particles are lesser, so that the volume is lesser, but the number of particles are higher in that area. So here in case of this one, they have high density. In case of liquids, the density is intermediate between the solids and gases have very less density. Why? Because the particles occupy more space. Why the particles occupy more space? The attraction between the particles are lesser, so that they occupy the more space. So it means that in a particular area, in a particular space, the number of solid particles are higher, but in case of liquid state, the number of particles are intermediate between solids and gases. In case of gases, so here whatever the number of particles are very lesser with respect to a particular space. So we know very well that density is nothing but mass per volume. So as concern that one, so solids have high density, liquids have intermediate density, gases have very less density. And then coming to the next property, so solids cannot flow easily. We know very well that solid never flows. So for example, pen is there. Do you want to flow the pen? Is it possible? No, solid never flows. But here, this one, liquids can have the property of flowing. So liquids can flow and gases flows very easily. So here there is another property for us, that is diffusion. Diffusion means spreading of the particles in a particular medium is known as diffusion. Diffusion in case of solids are very lesser. Why it is very lesser means the particles are very tightly. The particles are attracted with the tight forces. So the particles never flows, never spread. But in case of liquids, the diffusion is moderate. But in case of gases, the diffusion is very high. Why it has high diffusion? So we can simply say that the diffusion is depends on interparticle force of attraction and interparticle spaces. If the force of attraction between the particles are higher, the diffusion is very lesser. If the force of if the space between the particles, interparticle space is higher, diffusion is also higher. These are the properties of solids, liquids and gases. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please share and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you.